Hello, I'm Carrie Cordy. It is January 1st, 2018. So it's been since October of 2016 that I've really even thought about the future as far as, making plans for my future. So I've kind of going along with life and rolling with the punches and worrying about tomorrow when I get there. As much as I say that, it's really not true. I worry about tomorrow a lot. All the tomorrows. So I was sitting here over just now. I've been watching some of my older videos, and I was doing that a lot yesterday too. And I'm surprised by just how much time it takes or it would take to watch all of the videos I have posted. So anybody that takes the time to watch them, thank you. It is quite an investment on time. The post yesterday, I am glad I made it. It's, I can be right about things in the future, but I'm wrong all the time too. And I like to put those things out and wait and see. It's not a look at me, I know the future. It's more of a demonstration on, if you know the future, how torturous it is. If you truly knew what was going to happen in 2 years, waiting for that 2 years would be just absolute hell. If it was something good, you would do whatever you could to make that speed up. If it was bad, you'd do everything you could to make it slow down or not happen. So that time would become torturous. So that everybody out there is like, I want to know the future. No, you don't. I have been thinking a lot about, what was the point of that last video? Yeah, there was a chance that I would have died. I was kind of thinking that I would be killed, like in a bad way, painful way. Like a big fear of mine is being tortured to death. And, long drawn out. I don't like pain. I can deal with it, but I hate it. I absolutely hate it. But the other part of that video that I keep thinking about is when my mother died in March of 2009. I got to spend months by her bedside in the hospital and then in the hospice. And when I would spend the nights there, despite all the family that had come, driven long ways to be there for my mother, they were there during the day. So I was the only one there at night. Very rarely was there somebody else. If there was somebody else, it was usually my oldest aunt. So I got the chance to say everything that was in my heart to my mother. All the things I was sorry for. All the things I was happy for. All the things you want to say when you say goodbye. And I've tried to live my life this way ever since. That every time I greet a day, I spend that day doing my best to tell the people I meet, the people I know, the people I love, what's in my heart, my appreciations and my frustrations. It's really hard for me to talk about my frustrations, because there's so much ingrained from my past that I question my frustrations as being valid. And then because it stresses me out, it brings another barrier into expressing that frustration. And then, it doesn't seem to be expressed the way I was feeling it, and that kind of thing. So in a way, the way I'm living my life is I don't want to leave anything unsaid. I don't want to leave anything unsaid. And because of that, I do have a bit of desperation in my interactions with people and my loved ones. I just want to say to everybody that sees this, don't pass up an opportunity to express to somebody how you feel. Because this world is way too caught up in a cultural normality. You do these things because they're accepted. You don't do those things because they aren't accepted. And it seems to me that life has made people afraid to express themselves. The good, the bad, the difficult, even the unknown. Even to my knee-jerk reactions to somebody else's beliefs. And I recently had a talk with somebody that, I won't say where or anything, but they really freaked me out. And, they had this perspective on Scripture. It was one of these, it's the literal Word of God. And, this person was going into this version of the Bible that he was talking about comes from the original manuscript that, that Moses wrote. And I was like, no, we don't. This is something I have read extensively about because it was interesting. But the thing is, anytime I was scratching my head metaphorically to try to bring up the point that, maybe there's something else rather than what you think to this guy, not to me. But it was just always met with this worry. There was times I was kind of worried, a little creeped out and kind of worried. And now, telling that story, it seems to me that when we hide what we believe, it becomes, I guess, a taboo to discuss and to challenge. That's really hard. People truly, they don't like to be challenged. I know that sometimes it's the last fucking thing I want, but other times I really, really cherish a challenge. Because I want to see for myself. That's what my whole life has been about now that I say it. My whole life has been, I want to see for myself. So, with this world saying, you can't talk about religion or politics, and that's big in the United States. That's bullshit. How can we as people, each of us in our own small corner of the world, where we could look out and see people have it better, we could also see people that have it worse. How can all of us little people in the little corners alive, how can we change our little corners by making it okay to talk about the things we shouldn't? Make it okay to be able to express frustration without having it turn violent. How can we make that better? People are so worried about finding what they believed was crap or wrong, makes them fight harder to prove that it's right. And then that goes into justifying every horrible thing that can be done to another. Sometimes you'll see me glance at the screen. When I do that, I'm looking at the screen. I've been avoiding doing that because I haven't shaved this morning, and even in yesterday's video I didn't shave before I videotaped it. But just so you can see, this is a day's growth of beard. I don't like it, but I could even go out in public like this and not be constantly thinking about what others see. I think about what others see when I'm getting a lot of looks. I get a lot of that. But like in the last video, I think that the original look is somebody attractive, then they realize that, I'm different, and then are horrified. But the thing is, like I was saying, messaging to my friend that I bring up more than anyone else, messaged him or talked or whatever it was, that, I felt ugly. It makes me feel ugly when I see that. It's like, still after all this time, on May 5th, it'll be 2 years on hormones. And so after all this time to feel so unpassable, doesn't happen all the time, but it does come in clumps. But, oh God, it's been 11 minutes, 47 seconds. I'll wrap this up. And I will just say this. Life isn't what we make of it. Life is what we go through and have gone through. Life is what I've gone through. And that's important. Because anytime I try to make something of my life, it doesn't go that way. And it doesn't mean that that's not worth trying for. It's worth finding out. But I'm trying to find comfort in living my life as if I have to be here. I don't have a choice. Yeah, there's suicide, but now that I'm here, 2018, there's a lot in my life I can see that still needs to happen. And it was something I was even thinking about last night. There are things in my life I think that need to happen before my end, and I was kind of thinking that, maybe this YouTube channel would have addressed all of it. But I know it hasn't. So I will say one prediction for the year. I'll say by the end of 2018, the whole nation of the United States will know my name. I've had a dream recently where I was in the same room with Donald Trump and his advisors, and it started out with me having this big shit-eating grin, and Trump wasn't looking at me, and he was looking directly at somebody else, one of his other advisors, or it was almost like there was somebody else he was taking everything from. Like there was somebody else really in charge. It was a very weird dream. But in it, I went from that shit-eating grin to start talking, and, they couldn't touch anything I said. They couldn't convince me of anything. And it was very, very weird. They held no power over me. There was no sense of nervousness because of their station. There was no sense of nervousness about where I was. I was completely and totally calm. And several years ago in my life, any time that I would be in the presence of someone of authority, may it be a police officer, a boss, or meeting a congressman, or, you know, a news personality. It would have been so hard for me to express myself, and I would have done a little bit of hyperventilating, couldn't control my breath, and I couldn't make it through. But now in my life, over this past, God, 6 months, ever since this shit happened in July, I've been able to look at anybody of any station and any power and talk to them like a person, not as their station. Even when I've talked to reporters, I've talked to them as a person and not been nervous about exactly what I say and what I phrase. I'm willing to make mistakes. As hard as those mistakes are and as embarrassing as they are for me, I'm willing to do it. So we will see if that comes true. And I'm going to be honest. I'm going to try to be more honest about these oddities of my personality. It's one of the parts of me that's really different than a lot of people. 2018. Go figure.